Hi, my name is Renee and welcome to Pike Creek Farm. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Today I am joining because I am part of Souptember. And I don't know if you're like me, but I love soups and they're so easy and convenient during the winter, and here in the thumb of Michigan, things can get cold. So soups are great. And this wonderful collaboration is put on by LeAnne from Mennonite Farmhouse. Check her channel out. I'll have a link below and the playlist below for this collaboration. But she's organizing this, and every day there's going to be a different soup recipe. Some made on the stove, some in the crock pot, some canned. Just a great variety. And I know I like to try out new soups and new recipes, so I'm looking forward to watching all of them. Make sure to visit all the channels, comment, and there's going to be some drawings at the end that will be picked from the different comments on all the different channels, so make sure to participate. What I'm going to make today is something that has a lot of foundation here in Michigan, especially the thumb of Michigan. I am going to make navy bean soup, and ham and navy bean soup, and it's known as U.S. Senate soup because it's been served every day since the mid-1930s at the dining room for the U.S. Senate in Washington, D.C. And it started off because they wanted to be frugal, you know, and it was like during the Depression, and it was something they could make, and they didn't want to be eating fancy food when all their constituents were struggling to have food. So that's where the U.S. Senate soup came into being and being served every day, and it was a tradition that they liked and continued, and it's made from Michigan navy beans. So that was why I decided to make it, and I went and bought my navy beans from the local cooperative elevator. Here's the bag. I got a 2-pound bag of beans, locally grown, and they've been doing this since 1915. I've learned is that Michigan's a big producer of beans, but 75% of the beans that are produced in Michigan come from the thumb of Michigan. There's 3 counties here and some into the Saginaw Valley. And those beans make up more than 50% of the whole U.S. production of dry beans. So that's it's over 400 million pounds of dry beans that are produced in Michigan. For my contribution to Souptember to be Michigan navy bean soup, like what is served in the U.S. Senate, which is how I make it. It's pretty basic. It's ham bone or ham hocks. I have a picnic ham bone, a smoked bone that I am cooking with water right now. It's the navy beans that you rinse and sort through to make sure there's no little stones. That's a real important fact to do. And soaked overnight, and then carrots and celery and onion and some basic seasonings. Sounds, you know, pretty basic, but it tastes great. So today I'm going to make the soup, not cook it totally all the way, because I'm going to up into quart jars. I hope I get about 7, and if I get more, that'd be great. And I'm going to pressure can them and make them shelf stable. Come along and we will make the soup. And thank you once again, LeAnne, for Souptember. Put those 2 pounds of beans onto soak last night. I rinsed them this morning and put some more water in, and they've been sitting in this clean water. And now I am going to drain them, and I am going to add them to this pot I have here, which I have been cooking for a while to make the broth. You can use canned broth if you don't have a bone to make it for. I always use ham hocks, a leftover ham bone that I threw in the freezer, or today from the pig we had processed, I have part of a picnic ham with a bone. So it will give me my meat and the bone to make the broth. So don't do that. Anyway, it's in here and it's cooking. I'm going to drain those beans and add them now. And I'm going to chop up and add carrot, onion, celery, and I'm going to let that cook down for a few hours, like 2 hours. It won't be totally cooked at that point, but the flavors will start to meld together. I will add a bay leaf too, and I'm going to can it at that point. I'm going to get quart jars and I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to rinse these beans, drain them and rinse them. These 2 pounds of beans. Feel free to cut this recipe in half too. I'm going to rinse these in cold water. The ham bone with meat on it. So I'm gonna let this cool before I tackle it. I've washed all my vegetables and I'm gonna use my chopper just to speed up chopping. I'm doing more than I would for just 1 pot of soup. And for 2 pounds of beans, I'm going to do, it would be like 2 medium onions, but I have a large and a small here. And if you don't have one of these things, it certainly makes onions easy. Let me open it up. Everything. See, it's not like real small. So I'm going to add this to the pot. I have 4 stalks of celery, and I did part of one to make sure it's going to work okay in this. I don't usually do celery in this, but since it's out, I'm going to try it. And it is looking good. That is about 2 cups of celery. I'm going to do a pound, start with a half a pound of carrots and see where that gets me. Okay. Yeah, we're at 2 cups now, maybe slightly more, but carrots are good. Here it is. I'm going to churn up the heat some. There's the bone still in there and the 1 big piece of celery leaf, which I will remove. I'm going to add some seasonings to it now, so I'll give you those measurements. For the spices, we're going to add 2 bay leaves, and those will be removed before I can it. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. You could also put a couple cloves of garlic, fresh garlic in. I'm going to do half a teaspoon of thyme and a teaspoon of pepper. I'm looking at it, it looks like, but it's a lot of soup. I would do a half a teaspoon normally. Stir it up. And I am going to put the lid on this and let it just cook. I'm going to cut up the meat now, and I will add that. Add in 2 cups of diced up ham that came off that picnic ham. And if you don't have a ham bone or can't find ham hocks, you can use canned broth, and you can use even deli ham or buy a ham steak and use that, and it would still be good. I am going to take out that 1 big celery leaf, so that I don't forget and it ends up in someone's bowl. I'm gonna leave the 2 bay leaves in a little longer. And I'm gonna set my timer for an hour. Let me show you the beans. They are not soft. I can bite into them, but they're not like how you'd want to eat them. And I don't want them to get, for me, this time, I don't want them to get totally soft. I'm going to take them off earlier than I would if I was going to serve the soup. It is 1 inch headspace. So we're right there. And I'm going to debubble to make sure there's no pockets of air down in there. Double check. It still touches at the inch. I have a little cup of vinegar here, and I have paper towel. Because there's some fat in this from the ham bone and the ham, not a lot. I didn't add any extra. I am going to wipe this rim with some vinegar to make sure there's no oil to prevent the seal. I have my lid that has been washed, and I have it just sitting in some warm water. And I'm going to put the lid on, the ring on, finger tight. You don't need to crank it on, just finger tight. And I have my canner back here behind this pot. There's my 23 quart Presto canner, and I have 3 quarts of water in it, and I have it heating up some, so it's on like a simmer. So this jar is hot, and we'll go in there. Let's go on to jar number 2. This smells really good. I cannot wait to have this on a cold fall day or winter. I might do another batch of this in pints because it would be really nice to take for work. I don't know about you, but going out for lunch can be expensive, so I try to pack a lunch a lot, and this would be great. So that's about half. So now you will put in the broth. And if there is any spice that you don't like, definitely leave it out, because it will only intensify in the canning process. And I did not add any extra salt to this because it has the ham in it. And I did add a little bit of salt when I started the broth. And then I did put a tablespoon of chicken bouillon in there to help flavor the broth and to get it started. And measure, needs a little more. So it didn't need the extra salt. And salt is always optional for canning. It is not part of the preservation in canning. So if you're on a low sodium diet, definitely leave it out. Okay, there we go. Vinegar on the paper towel. Finger tight, and into the canner. But I'm going to keep filling the jars, and I'll bring you back and let you know how many I end up with. Here's the 7 jars in the canner. I'm going to put the lid on and turn the heat up, and when there is a strong stream of steam coming out of the vent pipe, then I set the timer for 10 minutes. have a steady stream of steam coming. Can't see it, but if I turn the light off, it's not showing, but I have my timer set on 10. After 10 minutes of the steam evacuating out to the steady stream, like a freight train, I put the weight on and let it come up to pressure. It is now doing the little hula dance, so I will set the timer for 75 minutes. I checked the USDA book, and I checked online for the most current version too, to see if it's changed in the year and a half since this came out. And it is 75 minutes for quarts of soup, unless there's seafood in it, as long as you fill the jars halfway full with solids and then the rest with liquid, with the broth. The pressure valve has released. The lock has dropped. This has stopped twirling, and so I'm going to take that off. There was no whoosh, which is a good sign. And I'm gonna let it sit for 5 minutes more, then I'll take the lid off and then wait 5 more minutes and then remove the jars. Lid off. The water looks pretty clear, so that's a good sign. 2 have popped while I was turning on the phone. Oh, there's another one. Yay! So I'm gonna wait a few minutes and then I'll pull them out and I'll bring you back. Ooh, that was a loud one. They're all out. Don't tip your jars to take the excess water off the top. It will evaporate really fast. You can see they're still like boiling. Thank you to LeAnne from Mennonite Farmhouse for hosting Souptember. And I look forward to seeing everyone else's recipe this month. And like I said, this is something that you can make for your own family's taste, and you don't have to can it. I just showed you how to can it if you want to can. Thank you for stopping by Pike Creek. My name is Renee, and I'm so happy you came. If you like this video, if you would push the like button, and if you want to see more, push subscribe, and then you'll see all my videos on canning and cooking and vintage recipes and life here at Pike Creek Farm. Thank you, and see you next time.